everyone. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure. We are a weekly podcast dedicated to sincere, in-depth investigations into the paranormal, supernatural, and the metaphysical, with a special focus on the UFO topic. We take a sincere, analytical approach, thoroughly evaluating each case and its implications. Our discussions go beyond the surface as we engage with researchers, investigators, and experiencers to explore the deeper layers of their testimonies. We strive for high-resolution analysis, carefully examining evidence, patterns, and perspectives that challenge conventional thinking. If you're looking for a podcast that seeks deeper understanding, you're in the right place. Please be sure to like and subscribe and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. You can also visit us at www.paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure.
Okay, welcome everyone. I think we're live. Yeah, it looks like we're live. Tonight is going to be a little bit ad hoc. We're missing Todd. He had something come up at the last moment, so we're just going to try to wing it without him. And I brought on Polly Rotterman tonight as my co-host because she's got a lot of experiences with hybrids, and we're going to be talking about hybrids tonight. So our guest tonight is Barbara Eberhardt from Germany. And so you've been a lifelong, I guess, abductee, Barbara, although you didn't know, interestingly, until you were, 75 years old?
5 years, yes.
So I was just remarking backstage, that's really just amazing that your entire life, you can be an abductee and have no idea.
Yeah.
And until you're almost at the end of your lifespan, and then you finally find out, and that's just, to me, that's pretty remarkable. So if you want to give a brief introduction, and then we'll dive straight into the experiences, and I think we'll go straight to maybe the first experience. Does that sound like maybe a good place to start with when you were a kid and you had the Russian pox? Or if not, whatever is the most logical.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, when I was 75 years old, I lived in Northern California, and I was visiting in Germany, and I had a download, what they call a download. There's one picture after another going. You're in it. You're doing things, and it's so fast together. It's so fast. Like putting a thread through a needle, and then the next thing you know, you're galloping on a horse over the prairie, and then you're underwater, and then you're in the jungle, and then it was so fast, and I couldn't stop it, and I couldn't get out of it. So finally, I just blacked out, and in the morning when I woke up, I was totally exhausted. I thought I was losing my mind. And so that's how this whole thing actually really started, because I had 3 more weeks planned in Germany, and my son was there, and he was flying back 4 days later. I said, I'm coming home with you. I can't travel like this in Germany by myself. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So I went back home with him, and I'm driving up on my property, and I had just remodeled everything for old age, really everything. And come to my property, and I told my son, I'm going to sell the property and move to Willits. I have no idea where this thought came from, but at that time, at that moment, I was convinced that's what I had to do. And that's what I did. Next week, I went down to Willits, applied for an apartment there, and it took about a year, they told me. So that's what I did. And I got rid of all my stuff. With the years you collect a lot of stuff. You did yard sales and things. And so then I moved to, and that was in 2018. And then in 2019, I got an apartment, moved to Villas in April of 2019. And I was sitting down there looking in Amazon, ordering some books. And one book jumped out on me, out on the screen. It was Chosen by Yvonne Smith. And she's a hypnotherapist. And I just saw the book. I said, oh, that looks interesting. Put it in the basket.
I have a copy of it. This is the book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I haven't read it yet.
And so I put that in the basket. And when the books came, that's the first one I read. And towards the last third of the book, there were two guys that said they had a download, like what happened to me. And one guy said, after the download, I had to sell my property and move into another town. And my jaw just dropped,
And that was the clincher. That's what
That
really
was exactly the clincher.
Yeah.
I said, that just happened to me. And then I contacted Yvonne, and she was a speaker at Contact in the Desert. So we met there. And afterwards, I had my first hypnotic regression. I've had over 25 regressions right now, just to find out everything. The last one I had was on July 18th this year. Now we're doing them over Zoom. The regression, it works. And yeah.
So I just want to point out this. So Polly Rotterman had a similar, I think, initiation into finding out that she was an abductee, and that I think you also, had a kind of download and imagery, a bunch of imagery in a flood into, and that's essentially what it was, Barbara, right? Just imagery. You were in a waking state, or were you? What state were you in when you had the download, and was it just primarily imagery?
It was imagery, but I wasn't really asleep, but I wasn't awake either. It's something in between, I don't know. But it was just one picture after another and very intense, and I was doing everything in it. I was forging metal. Crazy. And so after a while, and you can stop it and you cannot get out of it. And after a while, I just blacked out because it was too much.
Do you remember a sensation of time stopping around you? Kind of you're functioning during the download, but everything around you stops. You don't hear like the normal noises. It's like you are in a bubble suddenly.
I don't really know
all these images.
I don't really know because I was so caught up in that. So I didn't pay any attention to anything. I was so caught up that trying to, do all that. So I can't really say.
And you were also
felt anything like that.
And you were also kind of in a hypnagogic state. I think Polly was in a full waking state when her download happened.
Yeah.
She's maybe more able to recollect and be aware of the moments leading up to that. But you coming from the hypnagogic and you're kind of like half in a dream, maybe, starts happening.
Yeah.
But so Polly's, it did seem to like introduce the UFO subject. Was there anything in terms of the content of that imagery UFO related at all? Or was it just, was there anything like sensical about the content as far as it, like, what do you think as far as the content as to why was it,
I think personally, I think they sent that download to me so I would wake up, because they had other plans with me. They wanted me to know things, and they wanted me to. I think they wanted me to go public with it, and basically, starting to get me into that, because they're really trying to make the humanity aware of that they're here. Anyway, the ones that I'm in contact with, I have to say that because there are others out there, and they would like to help humanity because the actually goal is that we could join the Galactic Federation, but we can only do that if we stop killing each other.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, and so they're trying to help to raise our consciousness here, and so they need somebody to go out, people to go out and talk and things, and I think this is one of the reasons I got the download, so I would be starting to be aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, then you inexplicably decided to move, and
I got this.
It's amazing because in my case, it happened the same. You know, I suddenly took the decision to leave Colombia and come to Israel. It was more like a feeling that it's like something was calling me here. And actually, it was part of my process too, you know, of my process of with my experiences. So it's kind of a guidance sometimes.
Yeah, they just kind of push you, you know, in a way. They tell you have to go that way. And sometimes you get things in your head you don't even know about, you know.
Right.
And yeah, it was really crazy. So I after that download and after I met Yvonne, we started going back, and there had been instances in my life where things had happened that I had really no real explanation for it. Like, for instance, we were living in San Francisco, and I had 5 miscarriages there. And the first one was like a real one, but then the other 4, they were like, I was in the 3rd month. I went to bed in the evening, everything was okay. I woke up in the morning, and I went to the bathroom. There was some blood, and the fetus was gone. And nobody had an explanation for that, except that they said, "Well, maybe you're getting older," you know, because I was 38 at the time, and but that happened 4 times, you know, so.
And that's a highly unusual to have that many miscarriages in such a short span of time. That's pretty unusual, right? Like that's hard to explain conventionally.
Yeah, but the doctors didn't know what to say either, you know.
Exactly, that's the point, because you know my pregnancy was through IVF. I couldn't get pregnant normally, and the doctors were saying, like, you know, it happens with the IVF. Normally you can lose your pregnancies, and everything was trying to be explained like scientifically. But at the same time, I was having my own experience taken to the tribe to this hybrid program, seems to be. And so something was not making sense because everything was happening during my ovulation cycle. So I guess it's the same with you.
Yeah.
And was that also the same, that it didn't make sense to you, Barbara? Like, was that another thing that made you think that something's going on here unusual? Or
well,
what did you think?
I never even thought about aliens or anything.
Yeah, I guess.
At all, you know. So I didn't know what was happening, and I depended on the doctors, and so. But finally, I finally got my son. So then after that, it was okay. But it was always in the back of my mind that something was not right there. You know, something was strange. And under hypnotic regression, that's one of the first things I went to because I wanted to find out. And
you went to, what did you target specifically? Like just the in general the miscarriages, or a one in particular, or I'm just wondering how you.
No, we went to all the miscarriages,
Yeah.
and yeah, and so we found out that then. So I was on the table there, and they took the baby, and
Well, let's go into that in depth and in detail. So that was the first. Well, that wasn't the first experience of your life, but that was the first experience that you came to awareness of
yes,
depression.
yes,
Let's go into
that
that.
was one of the biggest questions I had. What happened there?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we went, and I was under hypnotic regression. We went to that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found myself lying on a table, and then they came, and I have always one Pleiadian lady with me. Her name is Uru, and apparently she's responsible for me ever since I was a child, and I've been taken up since I was a child. So she was there. She was always on my left side, and so they took the baby, and so with Yvonne, we went through all 4 miscarriages, so what we called here on Earth miscarriages.
And do you have good recall? Can we go through just exactly, detail by detail, how one in particular folded, and if not the first, whatever one you have good. So you came to in the one, and the first thing you notice is a tall. I mean, you didn't know, or did you recognize her and know that was Uru at that point,
No,
or was she a
I
kind of stranger to you then?
no, I didn't. I just the first one we went to, and Yvonne said the first hypnotic regression is going to be really fuzzy because you have to get used. She has to open the crack that they put a blockage around your brain, and she has to open. And it was fuzzy. I just remember lying on a table, and a huge figure was leaning over me, and it was very. I couldn't see anything. It was just like a shadow leaning over me.
That
And
you
then
think was Uru? You think that was Uru, or maybe that was the rest of them? No.
and then I felt I was put on my feet, and I felt 2 little hands grabbing each of my hands, and then I started walking. We were starting walking, and that's the first hypnotic regression I had. But I knew at that time that it definitely wasn't my bedroom. It was I wasn't there. So the next time, 6 weeks later, I went down to LA again and had my next regression, and we went to the same incident.
The same miscarriage.
And actually, it was no. The first one we went to was the download, because that's the first thing we wanted to find out what was happening there. And even then, I was lying on a stretcher there on the bed, and I got the shock of my life, because the shadow that was leaning over me was a big reptilian.
Now, was this at the time of the download?
Yeah.
You targeting that? So there was an abduction event at the time of the download that you didn't know about.
Exactly. And
okay, and go through it detail by detail. So you see, what do you see first? Again,
first I saw that the figure leaning over me was a big reptilian, but he was very gentle and very caring. And then they put me on my feet, and then I had 2 little grays coming, one on each hand, and we walked along a long corridor, and we came to a room, and there was like the one wall was like a big screen, and beside it was a big Pleiadian standing there. He was about a little over 6 feet, something like that. And he was standing beside it. He wasn't saying anything, and they put me in front of the screen, and then that's where I got the download. And at one point, in the hypnotic regression, there was a jungle, and I took a step forward because it looked so nice and lush and green. And all of a sudden, I was inside that jungle just by stepping one step forward. And it was really beautiful. And I looked around until I realized there was not one living creature. It was just plants. So I stepped back and I
And that was
went out of the room.
and that was disconcerting, that you suddenly noticed that there was no life, and that felt uncomfortable in some kind of way, or unnatural.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think that was? What do you think, Polly? Or why do they do that with that? I guess, I mean, it kind of sounds like holographic technology, or almost like the holodeck on Star Trek.
Yes, I was actually thinking about exactly that single moment where I was kind of taken from my bed into this place that looks like a desert, right? And I just don't understand how I got from my bed to the desert. But then I am taken to a tent in the middle of this desert. And when I go inside the tent, the craft is inside. So I can see the metal and the objects and the praying mantis, and like they've got this technology where they can play with our reality somehow to make it easier for us to deal with whatever is going on in that situation. I even think they pick those realities for us according to the way we were raised, or our beliefs, or our education. So it will make it easier for you to deal with anyway already shocking situation.
Yeah, and there is, I think, yeah, that's a good point. And I was kind of perplexed about, why would they, bring you into like a forested or a green environment? But yeah, there is kind of a lot of studies now, like that, just the color green, or, forests and trees really do have a huge psychological impact and change how you feel.
Exactly.
And maybe that was somehow necessary to put you in the right state, or to modulate your consciousness some. Or what do you think, Barbara? What have you thought about that? Or have you ever thought about why they did that? Or
Well, I think with the download, they condition your brain for certain things, because all the pictures are going to be in your brain, and theoretically they're supposed to stay in the subconscious until something comes up and you use them. But in this case, the download was so strong that I was kind of awake up there. And so that's why we went under hypnotic regression. We wanted to see what this was all about.
Did Yvonne have any thoughts on that aspect of it? Did she want to keep you uninfluenced by outside ideas, or did she weigh in on what she thought maybe was going on in that experience?
No, Yvonne is a very experienced hypnotherapist with abductees. And she is very, very neutral. She was very careful when you that's Yvonne. Like when you're under hypnotic regression, when she takes you up into and you're up in this, and I'm up on the ship, she would say, "What do you see?" She wouldn't say, "Do you see any aliens there?" Or "Do you see any Pleiadians there?" She would say, "What do you see?" And sometimes under hypnotic regression, for instance, when we're walking from one place to another, I don't talk, because you're walking, right? And because you're reliving everything. And then she sits for a while, then she says, what are you doing? I'm walking. You know? And, yeah, hypnotic regression is in a way strange when I listen to it afterwards. But that's exactly, you're reliving everything. And
Which I always find extraordinary about regression. I think what happens during the course of regression is really peculiar, and it's almost like, does it feel like almost like a tape is playing and you're experiencing it in kind of in the same, rhythm and pace as things unfolded at the time of the event.
yeah.
It's not like some people have, like David Jacobs will say, like it's just, relaxing the abductee, and once they get into a relaxed state, they can remember and their memories open up. But it's not quite like that. There's some real difference here as far, because that's not how you normally recollect memories, which is kind of haphazard, when you try to think of an event that happened and recall, images from it. It's kind of
Well, you're actually
foggy and
reliving everything.
yeah, you're reliving it,
And
you're
under hypnosis, you feel the pain. You feel what's
yeah.
happening to you. You feel if somebody touches you. You feel exactly. Like when they took my fetuses, I felt the pain, the physical pain. I felt them go with a little, like they had a little long rod sort of thing, beige with a blue line on it. It was very flexible and soft. And they went into my uterus and detached the lining and took the baby out in the sack. But I felt everything that they did in my uterus. Under hypnotic regression, you absolutely relive everything.
Yeah.
And if the pain gets too strong, then Yvonne would say, Barbara, you're just step back, you're just watching now. You're not, you don't feel any pain. So, but she has to suggest that to you under hypnosis.
And then that
Otherwise,
effective and it works and it sort of
yeah.
detaches you. I know Bud Hopkins used to use the curtain technique where he, particularly in cases where the abductee was, there's moments where you're witnessing something so shocking that you kind of refuse to see, like you don't want to go there. So Bud Hopkins would deploy the curtain technique where he would have them visualize like a thick velvet curtain which you're behind, and the what's going on is on the other side of it, and then you just open it real quick and take a peek.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really effective and kind of enhanced the feeling of security for the abductee. And that's another odd thing about regression, the ability to employ sort of techniques like that that work. So it's just not quite like your eyes recorded something like a video camera, and then you can play that back. You can manipulate it a little bit, and you can kind of control. There's some kind of ability to sort of control and put a curtain in place, over something. And even, John Mack used to do this thing too, where he would, have a spy go in. You can send in a spy into the craft. You don't have to go into the craft. Just send in, I forget what he had them visualize the spy as being, but he would have them visualize a spy go into the craft that would see the stuff going on. And then you can sort of retract the spy and sort of be removed from the scariness of the situation in that way. But anyway, not to get too, into the weeds on regression, but I always just find regression in and of itself kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I've had over 25 regressions now because, I'm German. I want to know what's happened. So I wanted to find out everything.
Yeah.
And we're doing really interesting things now. But let's go back to the babies because you wanted to know about the hybrids. And
Yeah.
well,
Do you remember the characteristics of those babies?
Well, I'm actually Yvonne calls me the nanny to the hybrid babies because I'm I'm taking up. I've been taken up a lot for just being. I go to the room with the babies lying in their little cribs, and in the room there may be about 100 of them. And so then I sit in my chair. They gave me, about 4 years ago, they gave me my own chair up there.
Describe
I have
the too. There's some
I have a
interesting
chair
detail.
that I sit in, and it responds to my mental my thoughts. So when I want to go to the corner and put the baby back into the crib, the chair just takes me.
Does it hover or is it on
Yes, it
wheels?
hovers.
It
Yes, it
hovers.
hovers. Yeah, it hovers.
And it also sort of grips when you sit into it too. Isn't there something about, when you sit in it does something and it's really
Well,
comfortable.
it just forms through your body. It
Forms
attaches.
your body.
Yeah, forms through your body.
Mhm.
And so when I have the baby in the arm, it comes up on the side to support my arm, and stuff like that. But then normally I go into there and sit in there, and I have a baby in my arm, and I just play with it. They're also cute. Play with it and cuddle them, and sometimes I do up there. Everything is telepathic, so you don't hear very much. But I make it a point to sometimes just sing to them so they hear something.
Hmm.
So they use their ears. And then
I've never heard of an abductee singing to the hybrid. That's the first time I've ever heard of that. That's but
Well, actually, it will be the second time because, when I met those babies, that's what I did too.
oh really?
Kind of. Yes, it's like, you just want to hug them and love
Yes.
them, singing to them like little babies. It's like, and so the connection is.
I think it comes automatically with human beings, because when we have a baby in the arm, we just cuddle them and play with them and sing to them and talk to them. And so
and Barbara, so when Polly, interacted with the babies, describe what you felt. You felt like a really deep connection to them, and there was kind of some interesting things happening within consciousness when you interacted with the babies. Polly, describe what you experienced real quick, and then we'll hear Barbara's.
Well, actually, what happened is that I could see a kind of ER room full of women in different stages of pregnancy. Most of them were having birth, and some of the babies were already outside the bellies. My job, according to the mantis, was to take care of the women and the babies. So I started checking the pregnancies and the babies that were already out. All of them, all the babies had that characteristic of the gray eyes, these big black almond eyes, all of them, all the babies. But other than that, they looked very human. And so I am a very empathic person too. My feeling is that they took me there not only to help them, like in a medical way with my medical knowledge, but with my empathy too. Like hugging and singing and loving those babies was critical for them there.
Right. There's something that, and I believe this was explained to you, Barbara, I think, unless I'm mixing up stories here. There's something that they can't give the babies that has to come from a human. You were told that specifically, right?
Yeah, they found out that the babies do a lot better when they have human contact. And because they don't have that emotion and those feelings anymore. or they're very subdued. And well, I'm in contact with Pleiadians, so that's different than praying mantises, because their program is I have babies there from all kinds of hybrids. It's not only human hybrids. I mean, and even in the human hybrids, it's you can see they're black or Oriental or Mexican or whatever they are. You can see the difference between the hybrid, because they're hybrid with Pleiadians, and Pleiadians are like Nordics. And but I also have hybrids with reptilians. Sometimes I have little babies with tails and all different types. So, but to me, they're all babies. They're little creatures. They need love.
And you don't ever recoil at any you don't recall at any point during your experiences seeing a baby and then feeling like unsettled by the image of it. You're like Polly. Polly's that way, where, and not every abductee is like this. There's many accounts of abductees, who raise babies that are kind of shocked or feel discomforted in some way. But no, so you never had that. You always
I never had that. No.
And so I just want to real quick. I almost feel like it's almost synchronistic that I just decided at the last minute to bring Polly on in this podcast. I think you are both the same, even though there's a lot of differences in your experience. You're kind of both the same. You fulfilled the same role, I think. With
Yes.
It sounds like it, yes.
Yeah, I mentioned to Polly in our previous episode that it seems like, have a general sort of problem, not with every abductee, but with many abductee women, of getting the women to hold the babies. A lot of women refuse to hold the baby, and there's a lot of sort of techniques that they seem to employ, with envisioning and so forth, even making the babies look better and more human. According to David Jacobs, they do this to get the women to hold the babies. And so they have this problem. And I think that if there is a person out there who, just has, checks all the boxes as far as, empathy and whatnot, I feel like it's like this strategy that they employ. They have one person, tend to a lot of babies, and I don't know, what do you think about that? So the babies that you were holding, they weren't always just your own babies, right? They were just general abductee babies, or?
Yeah, I was, I just have general, but I have to say one thing about the program that they have on my ship is, like, for instance, my babies, they were very close together when they took my fetuses, because I was 3 months pregnant and maybe 1 or 2 months in between, and it came the next 3 months pregnancy. So they're in their ages very close together. And they have a program there that they keep the children of the same mother as brothers and sisters together. So they're like a little unit. So they have a little family that they found that they have a feeling of belonging, So when I was taken up and I saw I have four miscarried, so they took 4 of my fetuses. I have 1 boy, Jaw, and then I have 3 girls, Kamu, Rafti, and Septi. And when I was taken up when they were little, and I came into the room, and they were all 4 together. They're playing, so they kept them together, and it was really cute because I sat down on the floor and we played and we talked, and then. Jaw, the boy, he was very inquisitive. He says, "And on your planet, how do you get from one point to the other?" And I told him that we fly. and they can relate to that. And then I said, well, we have roads and we have cars, and they couldn't understand that at all. It was really
Oh
Yeah,
my God, that's amazing.
that's very interesting. They could not understand the concept of land travel
yeah,
because
they don't have
they
it.
only know, travel through space, like flying,
Yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah.
just could not conceptualize that. And did you try to explain it to them, and to no avail, or
Well,
how did
yeah, a
that
little
go?
bit, but then they
Mhm.
couldn't understand that. Then we
None of
went,
them could understand that.
no, we went on to other subjects then.
And what was the playing like? Can you go into detail as far, was there, sometimes toys are described. Uh, give
We
us
were
the
just,
detail.
well, I'll tell you one thing. One time they took me up with my son here. I have a son here, and they took me up to when he was about 4 years old, maybe, and the others were like 5, something in that area. And we came up and we came into the room where my 4 children up there were, and my little one here. I told him, those are your brothers and sisters, and he couldn't understand that one because he didn't have any here, But and they were playing with round light spheres that that they were just juggling, but without touching them, just with their energy. They were juggling them,
Okay.
and they were playing with that. And so when we came in, well, they checked out my son first here, my Earth son, because he had curly hair, and up there they all have straight hair, so they never saw curls before. But and then they gave him also one of those spheres to juggle with them, but he couldn't because his Earth energy was different. So when he tried to juggle it, it always fell down because he couldn't keep it up with his energy. So finally he got mad and he just threw it down, and then the sphere started bouncing and higher and over there and over there, and then the others looked, oh, look at that, and then they threw all theirs down, and pretty soon we had 5 spheres bouncing through
Oh my gosh.
things like that,
So so he just threw the balls because out of anger, and the
Yeah.
hybrids saw that and were kind of intrigued by
Yeah, because they
doing
never
something
did
different
that. They
with the
always
ball.
just
Yeah.
juggled it with their energy, but they never threw it down to see that it bounced.
That's just really interesting. Like that inspired them to do something different, to be creative. That's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Did you have many experiences of being brought in by Uru to your hybrids or other hybrids playing? And is there other variation as far as the play goes, as far as what they play with or how they
No,
play? Anything
I
else?
don't know exactly. I can tell you a few things that they did with me when I was a child, when I was taken up.
Okay.
I was, but let me see. I'll tell you first about my children up there, because one thing was very nice. I was taken up one time, and they were already grown up then, and they had kind of like a graduation party, if you want to call it that. So I came up, and Jaw is, like I said, Jaw is the boy, and he's still on the ship. He's studying the universe outside. He has like his own room and everything. Kamu is a captain on another ship, and Septi and Rafti, those 2 girls, are on a different planet. They're populating a different planet. And they're bringing in animals and plants and everything to make it habitable. And anyway, so I was taken up, and they came into the room, and Jaw came right away. Oh, and I have to tell you this. This is funny too.
Mm-hmm.
When they were little kids, when after when I had to go, because after a certain time, Uru always comes and says it's time to go, because for our bodies, it's not, we can't stay too, you know, we have to go back. Otherwise we get sick up there. And so she came and said, it's time to go. So I started hugging them. I taught them to hug. I hugged them, and they really liked it. So I hugged each one of them and said goodbye. And then the first one would be in the back of the line and wanted to have another hug, you know.
Oh my
So
God.
I
So
taught them.
they didn't know about hugging. That was
No,
you introduced that to them.
that's a totally human things
And
up
they
there.
and
They
then
don't touch. They don't touch each other. They have their own spheres around them. And but
What
when
do you
they
mean by
had
Do you
sphere?
think all the babies, do you think all the babies get to know a human? Or are there like kind of babies that are chosen to see a human and those that are not? And why?
well, on my ship, I think they all know, because there's a lot of different beings up there working on the ship. And we humans, like when I come up there, I really feel at home up there. I do things and go to the babies and do my own thing there. Uru is there with me when I come up, and now then I'm being taken to the room with the babies, and there I'm doing my own thing. And after a while, she comes in and says it's time to go. But I think the hybrids, they all grow up with knowing humans.
They all seem to have familiarity with humans.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. But I wanted to say, when I came to the graduation party there, that they were all there. And Joe came in, saw me coming in, and he came over right away and said, "Oh, the girls are here." So they're always, they knew that they were brothers and sisters. So they came. And I come there, and Kamu, one of the girls, she looks more a little bit like me, around her face and darker hair. The others have lighter hair. And she comes and she gives me a hug, and she says, I remember. She gives me a hug. And then the other three gave me a hug too. And all of a sudden, everybody was staring at us in the room. You know, there was a lot of others, because they were celebrating that they finished. They were all, what are they doing over there? They couldn't believe it.
As if none of the other hybrids that were in attendance there had been introduced to hugging.
Apparently not. No, apparently not, because they were all surprised.
And it was a kind of spectacle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when I had to leave, I showed them a group hug.
All the
That's
hybrids?
so
A group hug.
beautiful.
So they can group hug. When they're all together, they can hug together.
That's beautiful.
And do you feel like what you show them or introduce them, they carry out themselves when you're not there, potentially, like hugging, for example?
I don't, maybe not, because up there, I don't know if they hug each other when they see each other. I don't think, maybe not while they're grown up now, because they have their own spheres. And
What do you mean by spheres when you say spheres? They have
their own surrounding, their own, each one has their own work now to do and things.
Like just their personal
their
space.
personal space, and they're always in contact with other beings up there that they have to work with, and so
It sounds like cubicles, like cubicles for each one of them.
No.
But I have a question for you, Barbara, because sometimes, we think about hybridization programs as only as a reproductive way for them maybe to bring children of their own that maybe they cannot bring for some reason. I don't know. But I was thinking that if they are looking for our empathy, for example, in our case, our hugging, our loving, our kissing the babies, or singing for them, if maybe empathy is not just a feeling, but someone that comes in our genes.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe actually what they are looking is for our genes to go to those hybrids and making them more understanding about what a hug is, for example. So can it be more genetical than just reproductive situation?
Yeah, that could very well be, because well, on a totally different note, because with the Galactic Federation, when I'm taken out of body there, I'm being sent to other planets to tell them to rekindle the feelings and emotions in their people, in their beings, because that helps reproduction. A lot of some of the planets, they stopped reproducing themselves because they cut all the feelings and emotions. And so I'm
Exactly.
being sent there and try to tell them they have to start kindling that back up.
That's
So that
interesting.
might have something to do what you said, that it might have something to do with the
That's interesting. Not to take too much of a departure into that, but that is an essential component of reproduction, the feelings,
yes.
because you hear these stories of hybrids coming in like with a male abductee and mounting a male. We had 2 episodes ago Jesse H. Long, who is someone else that Yvonne Smith has regressed. A female comes in and it's just merely performative. It's just to
Mm-hmm.
perform intercourse, just for the sake of reproduction, and there are no feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somewhere, it's what do you think about that as far as the necessity for feelings and how that, because I would have thought, mechanistically, why are feelings necessary? But they're telling you, or they've given you the impression that no, feelings are somehow crucial or important, or
Well, if you think about it, if you don't have any feelings or for somebody, why should I go to bed with this guy if I can go play golf or something else? It's a lot more fun than going to bed with somebody.
right, it
So why
does.
should I do that? So they take their life to another venue and say, forget that one. It's not fun. That's not fun.
So in terms of motivation, it provides
Yeah,
a
yeah.
motivation
And
to reproduce.
and I think for us, if we meet somebody, we fall in love with that person. So the emotions get together, and that is our urge to reproduce them, and that's in our genes.
Let's go to. I wanted to have you go through the moments in your abduction experiences where you were brought into what has been called the incubatorium, what David Jacobs calls the incubatorium, where there are fetuses in enclosures or some type of
Mhm.
incubation chambers. I don't know what else to call them. Uh, I thought your experience was particularly interesting and seemed very different from how other people describe the incubatorium, and that they were sort of rounded. Do you want to start maybe at one particular abduction event where you were witness to that area, and lead us through and what you witnessed and what you felt and whatnot.
Are you talking to Polly, or do you want me to answer?
Oh no, I'm talking to you, Barbara. Where
No,
you
you are the star, Barbara.
No, I'm not a star. It's just an experiencer. No, but what I found out, okay, after they took my third fetus, and I asked Uru, what happened to my babies? And then she said, okay, come with me. And then we walked through a while, and we came to a hallway where there was the left wall was all glass bubbles, like they're just glass bubbles in there, and in the bubbles were the fetuses. All the bubbles had fetuses in them, and then we went to the right, turned off to the right, and we came into a room where they had sacks hanging from the ceiling, and in those sacks were the babies that were like we would have them still in our womb. They were bigger, and the umbilical cord went through the ceiling, and so they got fed up from there somehow. But they were all hanging in those sacks, and we went. There was a huge room, like rows and rows of those, and we walked through the rows, and suddenly Uru stopped, and she said, "This one is yours." And so I stopped, and I put my hand on the sack, and I can, under hypnotic regression, you afterwards you remember everything. That's what Yvonne always tells you. You will remember everything. And I do. I still feel that feeling when I put my hand on that sack. It was warm. It was soft. It was like a little bit like velvet, but also like a little bit like leathery. It was very cool. And it was see-through, and I could so I and I just put my hand on it, and I sent all my love into this little baby there, and yeah, that's a sax exactly. You got them, and that's how they were just hanging there. And after they're too big for that, then they get put into the little cribs where I normally go in and take them out and cuddle them and play with them. Yeah. This is the cribs where they go afterwards.
And they're like egg-shaped cribs.
Yeah. And the fun thing is, I asked Uru one time, how do you feed them? Because I've never seen them being fed. And she just reached into the rim of it on the side, and all of a sudden, like a little hose came out, and the hose started circling over the baby's head and found the mouth and plugged in, and then the baby started sucking. And then I asked her, how do you clean them? That's where the fetuses are being put into the wall like that.
And they're sort of embedded into the wall.
Yes, yeah, they're put from the back somehow. I don't know how they do that.
And is there liquid? Is there liquid? Are they inside?
Yes, liquid.
Mm-hmm.
There's a liquid in there, and they're being, like, for me, they were taken with my uterus, with the whole lining. That they take the baby out with the whole lining, and
yeah, I thought that was interesting, Barbara. I've never heard that. Have you ever heard that, Polly, of them doing a fetal extraction and taking out the entire embryonic sac with the baby?
No.
I don't think that's the typical procedure.
No, never heard about it like that. And actually, I had also a question, can the aliens breathe with humans naturally, or do they need some kind of scientific modification, or how do
Um,
they take the whole thing out? Like, how does it work?
well, I can just tell you from my experience. I found out through Yvonne Smith. I found out that before every pregnancy, I was taken up and I was artificially inseminated with the Pleiadian sperm. So the babies that they took from me are hybrids already. And so that was there. And I asked Uru once, I said, why do you do that? And she said, because she said on her planet, that was her explanation. That might be just one of the explanations, but but she explained to me the planet where she is from the Pleiades, her people, they cannot reproduce. And she said they're compatible. The women they are barren, but some of the males still have sperm, and so they can and they're compatible with humans. So that's why they do those hybrids with humans.
Mm.
That was her explanation.
So, do you think it's in vitro fertilization, or do you think that they're injecting you? This is odd to say, but I mean, with that male Pleiadian sperm, or because I've heard another abductee, Geraldine Orozco, talk about insemination. In me, I've always thought that I don't hear about much an insemination procedure. Normally, you hear about the collection of eggs, the taking of ova, or sperm, and then I thought that outside, the body in a laboratory, in vitro fertilization was being done, in a test tube or something, and then that embryo is placed back inside the woman abductee. Do you think it's different with your ETs? They do things differently, or what do you suspect is how they go about that?
Well, with me, what they did with me, they artificially inseminated me. So I got like a
And
squirt
you
in my
recall?
uterus. I was taken up and I was artificially inseminated then, and then the fetus grew within me. That's how they did it with me. I don't know if,
A little bit different, yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
And I asked her one time, I found out that they've also been taking eggs from me, but already since I was a teenager. And so I asked Yvonne, on the hypnotic regression to go there. And so under hypnosis, I asked Uru what happened to the babies where they took my eggs. And she said they don't consider those my babies because they're just eggs. So
Oh, really?
that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
They don't consider like with the embryos that they took. Those were because she said the embryos grew within me, so they have my energy and my everything from me, my blood and everything with them, whereas the eggs don't have that. They're
Right.
just
That's a really interesting insight that they don't consider your baby. You're just your eggs, or what comes of your eggs, your baby.
Yeah. They
unless
use
Well, that's
unless
very
gestate.
interesting because it also, it comes to my mind when people think about if stopping the pregnancy or not, and when it's good to do it or not according to your physical issues or whatever is going on. So when a baby or an embryo is considered already like an embryo, and why? And you are explaining it perfectly. Like the egg as an egg is nothing unless it was like unless it grew up inside your body with your energies, like your soul kind of
Mhm.
talking.
Mhm. Mhm.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was the explanation. And so, because I don't know how many eggs they took from me, but yeah,
Yeah.
but embryos, they took 4 of them. And the first I found out also, the first miscarriage that I had was actually induced by them, because my husband and I, we just wanted to have one child. And living in San Francisco at the time. And so I found out that they took me up and actually did something to me. And then they brought me back down. And that same day, I lost the baby. So I had a miscarriage because and I asked why they did that. And Uru said, because we had to do that because otherwise we couldn't harvest you. So they call that harvesting, when they harvested my fetuses. So because after one baby, I would have been back on the pill or something, and not birth control, and we didn't want any more. So then they wouldn't have, they wouldn't have the chance. So they knew when I lost the first one that we would keep on trying.
Trying.
And then they could take me up yeah. And I also found out that they actually at one time I had intercourse with my husband that evening. So when I was taken up, they actually had to clean me out first because they didn't want his sperm in there. They cleaned me out and actually artificially inseminated me because they said they didn't want the baby to be his.
That's
Well,
interesting.
so, all those things come out in hypnotic regression. You relive everything.
Right. As far as the extraction, so when they extract the fetus, it comes out with the embryonic sac. They
Mhm.
don't, in your case, they're not presenting it to you right away and showing.
No,
Oftentimes
no.
they're doing a
They,
child presentation right then and there with some abductees, but with you, they rush it out or something.
they rush it out right away. They take it and rush it out and put it in those little glass things there. They don't show anything.
What is the glass thing that they put it somewhere in the room? There's
In that wall.
in that wall. They go straight to that wall.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember seeing other women there with you having the
No.
same experiences?
Mm-mm.
No.
I've always been. I think they keep them very separate. And also when they took my baby, I was in like some women say that they were in a big room and there were all kinds of other women. With me, it was always me in one room, and that was it. Just a small room with one bed in there. Yeah, and there wasn't anything else. I have actually, well, I know some. I've seen other humans up there now, later, not with the babies.
But you've seen other humans.
Oh, on the ship, yeah, there are other humans. There's one guy it was really fascinating. He lives in Sausalito, and just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. And we met at a MUFON conference in Sacramento. And he was a speaker there, and somehow we were drawn to each other, with our stories. And then one time he invited me to come down to his have dinner with him and his wife and his friend. And before I went down, he asked me, "Can you bring some pictures of yourself when you were 20 or 30 years old in that area?" And I said, "Sure." And I brought some pictures, and he looked through them, and there was one picture. I didn't have my glasses on because for a short time I was wearing contact lenses. And he saw the picture with me without glasses, and he said, "That was you, that was you." And I said, "Oh, that was me, what?" and he said, he's a bunch younger than me. And he said, when I was a child and I was taken up on the ship, and he's one of those persons that they couldn't block his memory. He can remember everything. And so he said when he was a child being taken up on the ship, he was at times there was two humans, a male and a female, that taught him. "And you were the female that taught us." I said, "I was?" He said, "Yes, yes." And so then after that, I'm a hypnotic regression with Yvonne. I said, let's go find out. And yes, I did teach all kinds of children up there.
And can you give us the details of that? Because I'm interested in, how were you capacitated to teach? Were you put into an altered state where in that altered state you kind of had more memory or knowledge of things than you do in your normal state of consciousness? Or how were you able to teach, or where did the knowledge that you taught come from?
I don't really know. I can't tell you that, but I just know that I've been taken all my life up. So apparently I have all the time I had a second life. And up there I felt really at home. So it could very well be that, because as a kid we were taught a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, we were for instance, when I was a child, when we were always a group of about 8 or 10, and one of the girls was there. I called her Curly, and we were always together. When we did have to do things, we always did things together. And we met. She lives now in Las Vegas. She's the same age as me. She lives in Las Vegas, and she does she does also hypnotic regressions and things, and we met. It was really funny that sometimes you meet those people, and we're still in contact. So that, but
Well, it's not only funny, I think it's amazing that you can even remember that you were there together and remember it here. But I was wondering why, like, I can understand why they take women, our empathy and women and reproduction, and why would they take men?
well, sperm. They have other species up there where they have the eggs from, and so
Yes,
I think
the sperm comes from humans too.
Yes.
It must, yeah. I mean, there is also ET sperm because there's hybrids brought in for procedures.
But they also have other beings that take, like Arcturians. They are blue, or even the Pleiadians. If they still have eggs, they take the eggs and artificially inseminate them sometimes. There's our Sero group from E1, her support group. There was one guy that was saying they always brought him up and took his sperm. And in the beginning, he said he used to fight him. He used to fight them, but at the end, then he said, "Well, just go ahead, take the sperm, and let me go back home."
But they won't take a man like in the task of hugging the babies, for example.
No, they wouldn't take him. No, they
Well,
wouldn't take.
there are, interestingly, that there are cases like that. Well, actually, what I was mentioning, I don't know if this was on or off the podcast. Jesse H. Long, who we had on a few episodes ago, he was given fetuses and told to embrace them, and he was what she presumed were his own fetuses, and he was handed a fetus, and he would hold it and cradle it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other cases of, I can think of one case in particular where an abductee mother refused to hold her hybrid child and would not do it. And her brother was abducted as well with her, an opportunistic abduction. And so they gave the fetus or the baby to the brother to hold. And that contact, even from a male that wasn't the mother, was still satisfactory. It's definitely more typical, I think, with abductee women, to do the child touching and holding. But you do hear some cases sometimes with
Yeah.
men. Interestingly, yeah.
Can I go into another subject also with babies?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Which is for me very interesting. They are doing now a lot more where they artificially inseminate women up there with different sperm from Pleiadians or whatever, and the hybrid babies are born on our planet and grow up here. So about last year sometime it was, I was taken up and on the ship, and Uru came to me and said, we have to go someplace. And so we walked through the ship. It's a huge ship, mothership. It's a huge ship. We came to a place where there was a huge room. There was a smaller UFO in there, round one. And there was an Arcturian lady and a Pleiadian guy and a reptilian. And the Arcturian lady comes to me and said, would you help us save a hybrid baby? Well, of course, of course you're going to help us save a hybrid baby. And so she said, okay, come on in. So I went into that spaceship, the little round one there. And the Pleiadian guy, he had a counter there that was like a screen. And he showed us, he said, the baby the mother is dead. But before she was killed, before she died, she hid the baby under a bush, and we're going to go and rescue the baby. I said, okay. And he showed me the bush where the baby was under, and then he turned around to me and looked at me and said, that's what you on your planet call Australia. I said, oh, okay. So we actually went to Australia, and he said, oh, we're coming down now. And I hadn't felt any movement or any vibration in this saucer at all, nothing. And but on the screen I could see where we were coming down in a ravine. And so they let down the ramp, and I walked down, and I had to walk through a washed out, through a dried riverbed. And I walked down, and I started laughing. And Yvonne asked me, what are you laughing? I said, because the first time I'm in Australia, and I'm walking barefoot in my pajamas through a dried out riverbed. And so I walked to the other side, and I saw the bush there, and put the branches apart, and there was a little tiny baby, light brown, lying under there. So I picked it up and I brought it back to the ship. And the Arcturian lady right away took it and put it in kind of an incubator. But I think maybe because the Aborigines there, it was way in the outback, the Aborigines there are totally black. And I think maybe the woman that had birthed the child because the child was light. They probably assumed that she was having an affair or something, but and she wasn't supposed to. And so they killed the mother, but before she was killed, she hit the baby. So, things like, and I had some marks on me.
You had some marks on you after that one. So that's what I was going to say, so you definitely feel that was a real physical experience.
Yes.
They physically took you in
Yes.
your physical body to Australia, and you felt the environment. I thought you did say something was strange, though, about the sensation of walking. And
Yeah, the sensation of walking was strange because my feet are normally very sensitive. I can walk barefoot very well and over pebble or rocks or anything like. And I didn't feel anything. So maybe, I don't know what they did. Maybe they put a kind of a energy cover over my feet or something.
because you didn't have your shoes with you.
Of course not. No, I was in my pajamas
Right.
when they take me.
But the environment felt real. It felt like
Oh yeah,
it was
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
outside. That's extraordinary. Yeah, I don't know about you, Polly. I don't think I've ever heard of you do hear about alien co-option, or I think is what Bud Hopkins termed, alien co-option, where they do use humans, for certain tasks that they can't handle themselves.
Well, that's the thing. You see, the others, they didn't come out of the spaceship because I think our gravity is different than theirs, and also probably the air is different here, definitely. Because I'm doing sleep patterns now, and I can tell from the sleep patterns if I have been on the ship where I'm lacking oxygen. And I can tell you from my sleep patterns that when I'm taking to the Galactic Council, we went through different days where I had the different patterns with E1, and under hypnotic regression, I found out where I was on those days. Yeah, I'll show you. The one with all that red, and that's the sleep pattern, but the red is where you're missing oxygen. That's when I was taken up to the ship. So on the ship, apparently the oxygen is different than here. And that's maybe one of the reasons after a certain time, Uru comes and tells me, you have to go home. Now, this one here is a sleep pattern that I had. And those nights I'm taking to the Galactic Council. That means my physical body is staying in the bed here and just sleeps here on Earth. You see? And those are the differences, and those are the dates from the... So I've been doing some studies on that to find out what...
But it's true that there is a change in the... How can I explain it? I remember the moment when I got into the craft, from being in the desert inside the craft. And there is a change in the, I guess the best way I can explain it is like when you go inside a plane.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel the difference in the pressure, like in the air, and even the smell, like the pressure feels different inside. Those are things that you can actually feel,
I'm sure. I don't really, when I'm up on the ship, I don't really feel that as such, but I maybe also because I'm more used to it, so I can't really tell the difference much. But apparently to this sleep pattern here, I have a ring that I put on every night that records my sleep pattern. And so I'm working with a neurosurgeon from Switzerland who he was interested because I have an implant behind my ear, and so he was interested in that. They found that.
What do you think those implants are made for? Are they made for kind of tracking us? Or I've been thinking about maybe they are inside our bodies in order to heal our bodies somehow.
They probably have different reasons. Here, I got that one when I was 13 years old, and I was taken up, talking about missing time. We were living in Canada at the time, and we were going blueberry picking, my sister and a friend and me. We went up the mountains to pick blueberries. Every other day we did that. And one time I came to lying in between the blueberries. I said, as a 13 years old, you don't fall asleep in the middle of the day. And I sat up and I heard them calling me, and I said, "Oh, I'm over here." And they came running and they said, "Where have you been? We've been looking for you for 2 hours." And so I said, "Well, I must have fallen asleep." On a regression with Yvonne, I found out they took me up, and I was 13 years old. I had just gotten my period before that. So they examined me for my period, and I didn't like that at all. And Uru said, "We have to do that because you changed now, your body changed, and we want to make sure that you're okay." I said, "Okay, I could understand that." And after that, you can see it here on the side, on the right. You can see the implant. After that, they wanted to give me the implant, so I had to put my head forward, and they tried from the back, and it didn't work. So they said, "Put your head back," and they went in from the front through the soft part here, through the tissues, and went in from the front, and it's right there. And we found that because I lost my hearing, and so I had an MRI taken of my ears, and that's where we found that one. And that's definitely, you don't have anything square in your body, you see.
Right. Yeah.
What about any psychic abilities after your experiences?
No, I don't have any psychic abilities at all.
Yeah, that is variable. Some people don't.
But I've had a very interesting life, and I think a lot of times I was protected. Because at one time we took a Volkswagen camping bus, my husband and I, from Germany. We drove all the west coast of Africa down. It took us a year and a half. And we left, at one point we left our car in a mission, and we went on a dugout canoe to Timbuktu. I've physically been in Timbuktu. And we went up the Niger for, I don't know, a week or so, just with natives and things. And we've been, I found out a few times we've been protected there. And so a lot of, at times in my life where things just happened, we drove with our van through the desert, so the Sahara Desert. There was no road. We just went 400 miles south and a little west, and you hope to get there. And right in the desert, we got stuck in the sand. And in the afternoon at 4:00, a car from the south came, a car from the north came, and they met right where we were. There was no road. They could have gone a quarter mile each way, and they would have just passed by, but they met right where we were, and they helped us out. And I found out that was orchestrated.
Right.
So I've been protected all my life through them. I was in a state of dire need.
What can you tell us? We'll, I guess, start to wrap it up here a little bit, since you guys are both across the world, and it's late there. Um, I'm curious about Uru and everything and what you know about Uru. And has she ever, you know, given you any kind of depth on her identity and who she is, and being that she's your sort of caretaker?
Yes. And she was there the first time I had contact. I was 3 years old. But after that, but that was in Germany, and they came and healed me. But after that, every time I was taken up, she was always there. She's still there when I'm taking up. Every time I'm taking up, she's waiting for me, and she's responsible for me. And when I'm up there now, I'm I know my way around and stuff. But she knows exactly when I come up, and when we have to go someplace, when we have to do things. And so, yeah, I just know that the Pleiadians, they can be like, they get to be like 1,000 years old or something like that. So our
She told you that? That was a detail about herself that she let you in on?
well, yeah, something like that. She said in our time frame it would be, because they have different times. They don't go by years, because our years are hooked to our planet here. We
Yeah.
count years. So she said in your time frame it's about 1,000 years. But so she's always there. So I'm just, one of the people she has to take care of. I'm sure she has others too beside me. And so.
And she never gave you much more than that about
Herself?
Yeah, herself.
No, I don't really know much about herself as such. And I really have to say I haven't found out anything that I haven't seen anyone being there that would take care of their own kids up there. Like, I think if I would live up on the ship and have my own children up there, I would go around with them at times. I've never seen that. So I don't know. I don't think she has any. And so, yeah, it's really, there's nothing. She's just there, she's always there for me.
Did you ever have the sense that you were connected to her in some kind of way? Like your spirit?
Yeah, well, I can tell you one thing though. She has the energy to heal, or to take away pain, because at times when they took my fetuses, for instance, and there was pain, she would stand there and put her hand on my shoulder, and the pain went away. So that is one thing she definitely can do. I don't know if the others can do it too. I can't say that, but she can do that.
I didn't ask you, what about the grays that you came into contact with, which I suspect might be of a different sort than the typical small gray. But they did have their own sort of gray workers or lackeys.
Well, I have to tell you, people just say the grays, but there's different types of grays.
Yeah.
There's the little ones that are maybe 3 feet high or something like that, 3-4 feet. They're like the worker bees that they are part biological and part artificial intelligence. So they're like little robots. You can call them, they come, they bring you stuff when you need something. And the beings there, they send out telepathic message. I need this or that, and then they come and bring it. If they have nothing to do, they just stand on the wall on the corner and wait till they get the next. Then there are the ones that are maybe about 5 feet tall, and they're from they're very bright, very smart, very clever, and they're from Zeta Reticuli, the star system, and they're very much their own beings. I mean, they do everything themselves. There's no artificial intelligence in them. They have their own intelligence. And then there's taller ones, like about 6 feet. They're very more quiet. They're just doing their job, but they're also not artificial. And then there's those, the one that they blended in. Those, that's Uru coming. Anyway,
Middle there.
those tall ones, the ones I met there, they were like, I think they're artificial too. They're like bodyguards, they just go out and do their job. That's one time when I was picked up by somebody else abducted me, and they weren't supposed to take me. And I think we come back to the implant. I think that's part of the implant, that it also tells others who you belong to. Like we have it with our here on the earth with our cows. Farmer Smith's cows has the red tag, and the farmer Williams has the yellow tag in their ears. So that's how I think part of the implant works, that they know who you belong to, and they were not supposed to take me, and they had me pinned on their slab, and I couldn't move at all, and I got really frantic and frightened, and I called for Uru telepathically, and then she came. She said, "I'm coming," and she was very upset. And then they took me away. The big ones, they took me off the slab, and then I passed out, and when I came back to my senses, we were on our ship, and I had to go through a tunnel of blue light. It was like a roundish tunnel. It was very intense blue light in there. I had to stay in there for a while. And then at the end, there was a round disc on the top that emanated yellow and orange light pulsating. And I had to stand under that. And then Uru explained to me that I had radiation poisoning, and they cleaned me of that. And she said, "Today you're not going to go to the babies. We're going to take you straight home." Yeah, that was one of my adventures, and I had a very, very strange mark on my arm that day, that morning when I came, when I woke up.
We do have some of those pictures. I can get to them.
No, not that one. No, not that one. That one.
That one.
That one.
Mm-hmm.
I had that.
Yeah, that's a pretty strange mark.
Yeah. And that's how I normally find out when I've been gone. When I find marks on myself, then I write down the date, and then we go there with the next hypnotic regression. But I've also had, like, from the babies, since I'm up there with my pajamas, I've had pinch marks under my breasts, because on my left side, when I hold them, with their little arms, they go under my pajama top, and then they pinch my breast. So I've had that happen too.
They pinch with their hands.
And like babies do, they hold on to things, and then they,
Oh my gosh, and there's been marks left from that. Wow.
I have some pictures of that too.
This mark that we are seeing here, does it feel, or does it look more like I'm not sure if it looks like you were hit with something. It looks like blood inside, or you were burnt with something. What's the feeling?
I think probably when I was pinned to the slab, maybe they had something on my arm. I don't know.
So you think it's more kind of a pressure mark more than something done by fire?
It's a mark. Yeah, it's a mark. I find marks on me all the time. A lot of times when I'm up, and then I like the one thing that Jim, you had. There were three. There was on my knee 3 dots. That was an interest. Yeah, this one, the one before that. Not this one. Yeah, there's 3 of those. There's this one and go the other way. No, there should be 3 of them together. Anyway, there was. This one is one of them, and then there's another one. That was the same day. Within 1 minute, I took the pictures there. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was the dots were in a triangle, 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then the second picture, they were all in a row. And the third picture, they're in a triangle again. And the 3 pictures were taken within 1 minute because I was sitting on the toilet and I had my hand in my iPhone. And I was reading something, and the pants slipped over my knee, and I said, "Oh, what do I have on my knee here?" So I took my iPhone and I took a picture, click, and one from the bottom up. That's what happened. I just caught it when it was moving inside me, and they said it's a little implant they gave me because they're giving me Pleiadian microbes. I'm getting infusions, 20. I'd have to get 28 of those because I want to stay up there with the babies. Here on our planet, 82 years, you don't have any future. You're old. But up there, I have a purpose. I'm there for the babies. And so I asked them, can't I stay up? And then Uru said, okay, we're working on it. And I was told I need 28 infusions of Pleiadian microbes so my body can adjust and stay up there. So they gave me this implant to help the microbes, my body absorb the microbes.
And there was some experience as well, right, where they came and placed something on your knee, or like you said it was like a black shiny clump of something that was related to what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that was that. Mm-hmm. That was that. Yeah, that was that. Mm-hmm. Was like a black, and it had a shiny purplish sheen to it on the outside, and it was warm, and it was kind of like it felt like a massage. It was working on my knee when I was on there.
And it kind of moved around, or?
Yeah, no, it didn't. Well, it was just sitting on my knee, but inside I can feel them working on it, and that's when they put that implant on it, in there. Yeah. Crazy things, huh?
Yeah, well,
beautiful.
So
it's beautiful.
But Yvonne told me, document everything. So every time I feel the blue something mark or something, I see something, and I could just see what's in front. I don't see what's in the back. So, but I take pictures of it and record it, and then the next hypnotic regression we go there if we have.
Yeah, the markings in a way allow you to know when you're being abducted and to target, through regression, that occasion.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't do the markings. Sometimes I wonder maybe if that's why, there's the marking. I mean, sometimes, maybe there's physical things that go on and, inadvertently a mark is created, but maybe.
One of the marks I had, we went up, and actually I was sitting in my chair with the baby in my arm, and I was going to take the baby back to its crib. So I told my chair, take me there. And the chair took off. And at that moment, a little gray comes in with something like a kind of like a tray in his hand, something in his hand. And we collided. And that's where I got the mark. It was just a regular regular
Hmm.
mark when you bump into somebody, you know. That could happen.
Yeah, I suspect, yeah,
But
that
I
sometimes
found the mark in the morning. In the evening, it wasn't there, so I found it in the morning. So I recorded it.
hmm
But that's what's happened with me at times. You know, I I mean, I'm also being taken up without coming home without any marks. It's not like I have marks every time, but at least when I have a mark, I know I've been taken,
hmm
and
right.
I record it. Yeah.
And then you can find out what happened. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this has just been an extraordinary story. I really wanted to interview you because, we haven't had that many people on yet that have had extensive experience with hybrids, and I think that that's one of the most interesting elements of the abduction phenomenon. There's still so many unknowns with
Yeah.
the hybrids, and this really kind of sheds a lot of light. You know, that it's just those insights, you know, about how they couldn't grasp land travel as compared to air travel. You know, that really kind of, you know, gives you an interesting insight, and there's just still so much to know, you know,
But
about
I have to say one. I want to make
Oh, go
one
ahead.
thing
Yeah, you
clear.
can.
I just want to make one thing clear. I'm
Mhm.
just telling what happened to me on my ship. There's
Right.
other people
Yeah.
being taken from different species, from different ships, and they have completely different experiences. So I can just tell you what happened to me,
Exactly. Yeah.
and the experiences I have. And you cannot really generalize anything like that. You know,
Mhm.
this is so I want to make that clear because there's other people that say, how can you be so? Well, my experience is different than a lot of other people had experiences. So, yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's true, Barbara. You know, I think each one of us has had such a unique experience, you know. So, my belief is that we need to respect each other's experiences. We cannot judge, you know what you saw, you know what you felt. That was your experience. And mine was maybe different, and it doesn't mean that it was not true. But the
Yes.
fact that we can compare our experiences, and
Yes.
that's why
That is amazing.
that's why this interview was so important for me. And
Yes.
I want to say thank you to both of you, really, and Barbara, because you know, even if our experiences are different, they are so alike in what we felt in our relationship with those little babies, so we can compare and still see that there are so many things that look alike and related, and that we are not
Mhm.
crazy.
No, that's the thing, you
Thank
know.
you so much for sharing with us your story. It's beautiful, especially for those women that are looking for answers about the hybridization programs.
Yeah,
So it
especially
was an
women
honor.
here
Thank you so
on our
much.
planet that have so-called miscarriages, where the babies are just gone.
hmm
Maybe think about it. Maybe they're up there. I have
Exactly.
4 beautiful children up there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And knowing that, you know, would be a huge, I think, anyway, a huge consolation. You know,
Yes,
that you
yes,
didn't lose the
yes,
baby. Yeah, I think that, you know, with just even phantom pregnancies and all that, you know, that is quite possibly, you know, related to this.
yes.
But okay, I won't keep you guys any longer. It's definitely late there in Germany, I'm sure. Getting close to 5 a.m. or 4 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m. here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Jim, you did a great job. Thank you.
And thank you. Yeah, it was just a wonderful.
Thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm trying to do as much as I can from my point here. And in 2-3 months, you'll find my book in the US too.
The English version. Okay, good.
Amazing. Amazing. Beautiful.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for watching, and tune in every Mondays at 8 p.m. For additional episodes. And again, thank you, Barbara, for coming on. It was a wonderful conversation, and thank you, Polly, for joining on such short notice.
You, Polly.
No, you're welcome. The pleasure was mine. All my love, guys.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. A Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure is looking to talk with ufologists, researchers, investigators, contactees, abductees, channelers, and more for upcoming shows. Or if you have stories, photos, videos, questions, suggestions, or comments, please contact us through Messenger or email us at paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. I thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranomaly Beyond Disclosure.